Hello, and welcome to Celluloid. Today, we continue our month-long Shocktoberfest with the 2005 film Cursed, directed by the great Wes Craven. Though admittedly, by 2005, Wes Craven wasn't really all that great anymore. With this film, he tried to bring the formula that worked so well with Scream to the werewolf genre, giving us a film that shows what would happen if a werewolf outbreak occurred to a bunch of bland, unlikable Hollywood show business types, complete with annoyingly self-aware dialogue and shoddy mid-2000s CGI. It worked so well that he ended up scraping the bottom of the barrel to make Scream 4 a few years later. So, prepare your arsenal of offensive gay jokes, be on the lookout for jealous, bitchy werewolf ex-girlfriends, and wonder what the fuck Scott Baio is doing here. It's time for Celluloid. Alright, today we are talking about the 2005 film Cursed. And all I can say to start this off is, ha! I am completely forgiven for K-Pax now. That's all I have to say. Because this one was your idea.
It wasn't that bad.
Yes, the fuck it was.
Bad. And I went into it.
K-Pax is actually better in fact that it's just kind of mediocre. This is just fucking bad.
It's pretty bad, but I preface this by saying I remember this being really boring. Like, I remember not enjoying this movie because I saw it in theaters when it came out.
I feel so sorry for you.
Well, I watched it again this time, and I enjoyed it more. I thought it was, like, it has some really stupid lines, and, like, just looking, I think because I had such low expectations going in, I was like, I think I have very low expectations of Wes Craven anymore. Like, I've just completely given up on him as a filmmaker, and so it just raised him a little bit in my eye. Like, I think I get what you're doing now, and you're not even really taking yourself seriously anymore. It's kind of the vibe I get from Cursed.
That's the thing. And I know I read some background to where, like, this movie had a lot of production problems. The whole script kind of got redone. There were people that came in and filmed parts that were just cut completely when they rewrote it. So there were a lot of actors that aren't even in the film, but they still filmed scenes. So there was a lot of problems with it. And also, I know that this is a PG-13 version and there is an unrated version. And I'll talk about this later, but I actually went and saw the scene-to-scene comparison of the unrated versus the PG-13. Mm-hmm. But the main thing is that at this point, this is right after Scream 3. So this is still Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson, the writer, coming off of that. And I felt like maybe they thought they were done with Scream at that point, so maybe they wanted to try to start a new series that, okay, we already did the slasher film, let's do the werewolf film. And they tried to do the same thing where they made it kind of like funny, but still trying to be kind of scary, and it just failed so horribly.
Oh, it's pretty dire in the scary movie type. It's like a weird mishmash of like Scream and like Final Destination, where they're trying to be kind of edgy and hip about it, and it feels so labored, the edginess.
Not only that, but this movie is so fucking dated as being a mid-2000s movie, like even more so than any kind of movie from the mid to late 90s. And I say that because of the music choices and the one scene where Jesse Eisenberg goes to his computer to find out stuff about werewolves. That looks so much worse than 90s computer films to me. Like, that's how dated it looks.
No, that fucking webpage was like a 1997 webpage. Like, this movie looks dated for 2005. That's how bad.
And it's not even a full 10 years old yet.
No, it's ridiculous.
And here's the main thing, is that I didn't have high expectations going into this, because I knew this was like after Scream and after the Scream sequels. I know that Wes Craven hadn't been doing very much or very well. Yeah. But still, the combination of him and Kevin Williamson, I had a little bit of hope. It had a good cast for the most part, even though some of it is like, come on, you're going to put Joshua Jackson in a film? What is this, 2005? But Other than that, the thing that really got me excited in the opening credits was that I saw Rick Baker did the effects. But it's a fucking waste. Like, there are maybe a brief shot or two, quick cuts, where I could be like, oh, that's actually a Rick Baker effect. The rest was horrible 2005 CGI.
See, that's the thing, because I remembered it being a lot more CGI. So once again, I was more impressed with the effects this time, that they did start out with practical effects and slowly moved into the CGI to where by the end you're just like, fuck this.
But it's not even enough to where you can appreciate it, because the first real effect we see is when Shannon Elizabeth, mid-2000s, when she gets bitten by the wolf and pulled out of the car, I could tell, yeah, that was a practical effect, but it's like not even a full second of seeing that. So like, Rick Baker made this effect, and you can't even like focus on it for a second or two just so we can actually see it and admire what he did. And then as the film progressed, like there were a few split second shots of practical effects, but they lingered on all the shitty CGI shots they had. And I know there had to have been better effects coming from this guy, the guy that did the fucking Howling and An American Werewolf in London, and you just fucking waste him on this piece of shit.
I almost wonder if he just repurposed his Howling special effects and just like gave that to Wes Craven. Like, yeah, just
I got some shit lying around the garage. You can
yeah, like that's it, because like the beginning scenes, the practical effects. I mean, they do kind of quick cut. I think that's more in service to not giving away your monster too early, that kind of thing. It almost feels like this is a throwback, and this is just like a love letter to werewolf movies. But by the end, not so much, because it has.
Yeah, I kind of feel. Go ahead.
It has all the cheesiness of an old school horror movie. It really like it has the practical effects in the beginning, and it really like the bad acting. Just everything's there, even from people that know how to act. Like an early Jesse Eisenberg, he was pretty good with some really lame material given his way. Same thing with Christina Ricci.
But they were also both really bad at times.
Oh, they're really bad.
Christina Ricci especially, like, she really disappointed me for most of this movie.
No, she's not showing up. At the same time, the script isn't showing up for this movie. It's...
Well, again, and that might have to do with the fact that originally what I read is that it was based around, like, 3 different people, like Jesse Eisenberg and Ricci weren't originally related, that come together, that get brought together by a car crash in the hills, kind of like what happens in the movie. And it was going to be Christina Ricci as one character, Eisenberg as another character that's not her brother, and then Skeet Ulrich was going to be the third character. Yeah. But then they apparently changed that and focused on these orphan brother and sister and stuff, and that really just hurt the movie, I feel like. But then again, this could have had Skeet Ulrich in it, so who knows what could have happened.
Yeah, and I mean, and they were called back in to shoot these scenes to make them brother and sister, so you have to imagine they're kind of pissed off, like, oh my god, I have to go back to this fucking curse thing. And so maybe that's where a lot of the shittiness is coming through, that everyone's just really frustrated they're still working on this goddamn movie.
Yeah, I could see it. And also there's so many like familiar and famous faces that pop up in this movie. I'm just like, oh man, the mid-2000s were rough times before these people had good careers.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess let's jump into...
Okay, in jumping in, I will have to say within the first 5 minutes of this movie, I paused it for a second and I was like, oh man, I think I'm in trouble. Like, I don't think this goes... Because my first note in this movie was... Is that fucking Bowling for Soup? Yeah. That is fucking Bowling for Soup.
I was like, man, I know that band. Is it Pennywise? I was trying to remember like they have an overweight guitarist. I was like, wait, there's only a couple bands I know with a very overweight guitarist playing punk music.
I was like, is it Pennywise? Is it NoFX? What is it?
Fat Mike lost some weight.
No, it's fucking Bowling for Soup. That is 2005, man.
Yeah, and then like the editing is already like the editing of the opening scene is just at this breakneck pace here. It's just very MTV-ized. It's annoying, but at the same time, I still have to argue with the K-Pax because this movie feels a lot breezier than K-Pax.
Okay, it might move along at a faster pace, but you have to admit there was a lot better acting and a lot better moments in K-Pax than there was in the entirety of this film.
Oh yeah, and once again, I think comparing it to something like The Howling, that's where I was kind of getting at, that the movie feels like a love letter to these old kind of movies, like to these really low budget horror movies. But
see, I can see that somewhat, but I kind of feel more so that Craven was trying to cash in on his Scream success and trying to take off another maybe trilogy even, or another series of Scream-esque werewolf films. And if anything, I kind of think he was using a lot of that throwback and a lot of self-referential stuff to more kind of give him cred. Like, give him horror movie cred more so than actually doing a werewolf love letter.
No, and by the end of the movie, I had abandoned that idea. It's just, it starts off that way, and it kind of, like I said, it has this very old school, early 80s horror movie vibe, just with the shitty acting, the shitty script, like the general veneer, and then it slowly turns into a Wes Craven movie. Or a late
but
era.
Again, and it's not even a late era Wes Craven movie, not the good early Wes Craven stuff, but more the self-referential, trying to make meta commentary, trying to be funny and scary, but it just not succeeding at all in this film.
Yeah, no, it all
and I do agree with you on the editing, especially early on in this movie. Like, it's so quick and odd cuts and shit like that. It reminded me of like a Nevedine and Taylor, like a Crank movie almost, just like at the speed and odd cuts it was doing in the beginning.
Yeah, and then it quickly gets rid of that too. So this movie it had no idea what it wants to be. And I will say that this movie was also put out in the same year as Red Eye, which is another shitty Wes Craven movie. I have heard people stick up for it. I fucking hated it. But
I actually never saw it, but I've kind of heard both. I've heard a lot of people say it sucks, and I've heard a few people that have really stuck up for it, but I don't really care enough to see it.
I wouldn't recommend it. It's pretty standard. It's not like Scream, at least, is what I'll give it. He was trying to do something different, but he made 2 movies in 1 year, so I guess that's...
Well, kind of, because this one got held in production for like over a year, so I think he had such a bad experience doing this. As soon as he was able to finish it and they finally released it eventually, I think he was like, I just want to do something completely different. Obviously, trying to recapture the lightning in the bottle that was Scream is not fucking working.
Yeah.
Let me do a movie about an airplane. I assume it's about a killer airplane. I don't know.
It's pretty much. So we start off with Shannon Elizabeth and her friend Maya. Yeah.
Which originally, I think that was Mandy Moore originally, and then they replaced her with Maya, which
that's so strange.
Both of those would have dated the movie, but I feel like Maya dates the movie so much more than Mandy Moore would have.
Definitely.
Because she's kind of gotten an acting career since then.
Yeah. So yeah, they go up to Portia de Rossi, another...
Oh man, it was a rough world before Portia de Rossi got Arrested Development.
Right. And she's a palm reader, and Maya's just like, tell my friend about this boy she likes, and immediately Portia de Rossi's like, blood, so much blood, and talks about like there's a man close to it just... Anyway, there's a man that Shannon Elizabeth has apparently been pining over. And the soothsayer, instead of reassuring her that she should get over the man, tells them there is blood and the mark of the beast and blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's because she's the real deal.
She
ain't no regular, carny gypsy.
not like those other carny gypsies you see. And so Maya runs away, and Shannon Elizabeth...
I don't even know about running, but she just
kind of meanders off.
Walks away.
Yeah.
She meanders off, but apparently gets to a point where she can't even see her. Maya can't hear her calling out her name.
Yeah.
I assume that she just got killed immediately.
Well, the strangest thing is that Shannon Elizabeth just walks to the fair and just walks on the boardwalk and goes out to the beach and just starts screaming whatever her character's name. Just like, Maya! Like, what do you... Where do you think she is? Like, why are you... It's a strange scene. It's just so that you can see...
There was maybe a minute or less before you followed her, so, like, there's no way she got that far out of your eyesight.
Yeah, you must have some serious nearsighted issues. And it's also that we can get a shot of the moon over the beach. Then we go to Jesse Eisenberg having this really forced interaction with who will become his love interest, his teenage love interest, and we get some really...
Oh, actually, I think before this even, there's a quick Christina Ricci scene of her like leaving work or something. I don't know. I just have this note because I thought it was probably one of the lamest / funny. No, it was actually, sorry, it is in this scene with the girl that is his love interest. Mm-hmm. Some security guard guy comes up and is like, oh, yeah, just check the back, everything's okay. And she's like, okay, Jose, because he's Mexican and his name is actually Jose.
Oh, there's Wes Craven really pushed the boundaries of offensive statements by making this in 2005, because Jesse Eisenberg...
Well, dude, they have the homophobic lingo of a 90s film.
I know, that's what it's...
Like of a 90s teen comedy. It's bad.
So yeah, cool dude, boyfriend of hot girl that Jesse Eisenberg apparently now has a crush on. Who
is actually a really good actor. His name is Milo Ventimiglia or something like that. But he's a really good actor. He was in a movie called The Divide that is kind of like, not really a post-apocalyptic, but it's kind of like people trapped after like a nuclear bomb breaks out and like them slowly going crazy and dying of radiation poisoning. It's a fucking amazing film, and he is such a good bad guy in that.
Cool, yeah. No, I enjoyed him. I thought he was really good. I don't think I know him outside.
I mean, minus the lines he had to say.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But yeah, so he gets there, and one of his lines is, "Hey, geek on his way to Fag Town."
I think that's actually his first line.
I think that is, yeah.
I was just like, oh man, I'll have to remember that. Geek on his way to Fag Town. That's a good one.
And after hassling Jesse Eisenberg walks away, and his line as he walks away is, "I think your dog is gay too," because Jesse Eisenberg has a dog.
Yeah, and again, he kind of goes around the corner looking like he's about to cry or something. But it's so funny because he says that. He's like, geek on his way to Fag Town. And then the hot girl that's the love interest is, of course, like, oh, you're such a dick. Leave him alone. Oh, you're such an asshole and a homophobic idiot. But I'm totally going to stay with you instead of going with this nice guy that actually likes me because, you know, you're got a good body and you're hot and you totally have a bitchin' car and stuff.
No, he's a nice guy on the inside. He's sensitive. But we'll get to that.
I can save him.
Yes. And then we find out that Jesse Eisenberg and Christina Ricci very nonsensically are siblings. Like, just you put them side by side. Never would have guessed. And,
no, not at all.
And so, yeah, Christina Ricci, she goes into her, what we find out is her boyfriend's club called Tinsel. And you wouldn't know this. From the beginning, it looks like it's a horror-themed nightclub. But by the end, you find out, oh no, it's actually just a Hollywood-themed nightclub. They just didn't show us any of the other rooms the entire movie.
I really didn't realize it was a nightclub until, like, the actual opening happened. I thought it was going to be, like, a museum exhibit.
Yeah,
like a horror movie museum exhibit.
I think I just remembered from watching it, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be a nightclub, but this really looks like a museum. Like, it just has displays, not even covered, of, like, really cool, like, I mean, if they're real, really cool artifacts from horror films, like,
and expensive stuff too, because he even said, like, oh, I have fucking the cane from the original Wolfman.
No, it's like they did it for like a 25th anniversary and they made it of pure silver. It's like a replica,
okay.
But it was given to Lon Chaney. That's its backstory.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought. I just heard the Lon Chaney bit, so I thought it was one of the ones he used from the film.
No, it's one that was like, it was gifted to him from Paramount. But either way, it's bullshit, so it doesn't matter.
And there is a Freddy statue in the back somewhere we see quickly.
Yeah. There's, I mean, and it looks like a cool place, but yeah, it looks like a museum. It's very nonsensically a nightclub.
Yeah, like, how are you going to have people getting drunk and trying to fuck each other in that with all that stuff there? Like, I'd be so worried about people breaking the shit and costing you so much money.
They have a fucking hall of mirrors. You do not put drunk people around a hall of mirrors. That is just...
Especially because, you know, people are going to go fuck in the hall of mirrors, and that's just going to be odd for everybody.
It's
also missed opportunity by this film.
People should have been fucking in the hall of mirrors. Well, I mean, the nightclub barely opens before it's already ruined. But we'll get to that. And so, yeah, they set up that Ricci is trying to get with she wants to be this dude's girlfriend, and he's all like, I'm a player. I don't know if I want to settle down.
Yeah, I fucking hate Joshua Jackson in this movie.
Yeah.
Like,
And then we get to watch Ricci and Eisenberg driving home, where he's pissed off that she did not pick him up. Because apparently he's supposed to, like, I guess be presented as like a worrywart or something, but it's never really completely established. She's like, do you know what could happen to a teenager on Hollywood Boulevard? And she's like, I know, dude, blah blah blah. Anyway, they're having a discussion, and this is one of the cool things I liked about the movie, is that really it actually did surprise me when they run into a deer, hit another car, it goes flying off a hill.
No, it's not a deer, it's the wolf.
Oh, was it the wolf?
Yeah, it was the wolf. Like, you saw it. It jumped over the car. This did not, like, scare me or make me jump at all or surprise me.
Oh, it did scare me.
Like, I knew it was coming. Well, I knew it was coming, but it was just like, oh, scary random car crash. But the greatest thing about this is that you see this quick cut of a wolf, like, hitting the front windshield and jumping over the car, and then it cuts to Jesse Eisenberg, and he, like, screams, and his face is priceless because it seems so just uninvolved, and he's just kind of like, ah! And that's how he's being scared, but, oh, man.
See, I actually like this scene because I felt like they didn't complete their thought before it actually happened, which usually in a movie like this, they'll kind of get a complete thought out, then they'll hit something. And I felt like this one kind of did it in the middle of one, and so it was
But I think the problem is that you knew this was going to happen or something like that was going to happen, but they drag it out for so long before it does happen. Even if it is mid-thought, you're already expecting something to happen to where it's not much of a surprise. Well, and I noticed the only thing this movie tries to get scare-wise is just cheap jump scares, and they all fall flat for me.
That's all movies were at this time, especially Wes Craven. That's all he does anymore is jump scares. I'm not saying it was a good jump scare. I'm saying it was well played, I thought. Yeah. But
well, I thought the editing is a big problem in it, though, because basically as soon as the accident happens, basically the audio and the editing makes it really confusing, because obviously they hit another car, that other car falls off the bridge and goes rolling down the hill, but the way they edit it and the way they do the audio, like you hear some of Ricci and Eisenberg talking as the car is rolling down the hill, so I was like, wait, did they fall down the hill? What the fuck happened?
Yeah.
It was a bit of a clusterfuck in that scene.
It was not handled extremely well. But, so, Ricci goes down the hill, finds Shannon Elizabeth in the car, asks her if she has a jack. I don't know what the fuck she plans to do with this jack. Like, Shannon Elizabeth is essentially trapped with the dashboard collapsed.
No, Ricci's car got a flat tire. She was worried about herself. She wanted to go ahead and make sure she could change out her tire.
I can't be stalled. This is not my business. Anyway, Eisenberg eventually gets Shannon Elizabeth some fucking how, and...
Which, by the way, when she's, like, falling out and stuff like that, like, I'm sorry, Shannon Elizabeth, I've always had a big crush on her. She is extremely hot. But Eisenberg being, like, this nerdy kid character, there's no way he wasn't just, like, straight up staring at her when, like, she's falling down and her boobs are flopping around everywhere and, like, looking up her skirt and everything. And I was like, they could have played on that a little bit.
I thought they seemed like they were going to try to, and then it just never really came to anything. It was weird, because I thought they were going to play on that, too. But I love that while Jesse Eisenberg is getting her out, Christina Ricci is continuously outside, and she's hearing, like, birds, like, caw! And she's just getting so freaked out. She's like, guys, I think you need to hurry. Like, what? The birds?
Well, that's the thing. The main thing, too, is that there was just a major car accident. This person is upside down in a car, really hurt, and at least cut up and shit like that. And Christina Ricci just seems so unaffected by it. Like, at first she's like, oh, are you okay? I'm gonna try to help you. And then as soon as Eisenberg goes to do that and she starts hearing, like, animal noises out in the fucking woods where animals live, she's like, hey, can you guys hurry this up? Seriously, we should get out of here, guys.
Yeah.
Let's pick up the pace here. All right, I ain't got all night to take your broken ass out of a car.
But I do love this next scene because it made me laugh so much, because after Shannon Elizabeth gets down and Jesse Eisenberg's kind of there, like, are you okay? And she's like, Christina Ricci's like, guys, I think I heard something. And Shannon Elizabeth's like, it wasn't a dog, was it? Wolf attack!
Oh, no. That's when he tells her that, like, they hit an animal.
Oh, yeah.
And then the thing happened. Right. She's like, it wasn't a dog, was it? Yeah, and then wolf attack!
And I cracked up. I love that wolf attack. It felt, that's one of the scenes that felt so much like The Howling. Like something just...
No, I did. I really enjoyed that, but this is also one of the scenes that was different in the unrated and PG-13 cuts. The PG-13 was theatrical, obviously, but on DVD there's an unrated cut, and like I said, I watched the scene-by-scene comparison of the differences. Yeah. And this is a scene that, I guess it would have been kind of too gory for a PG-13, but not much, and it would have been a chance to actually show some good Rick Baker effects.
Oh, really?
Because apparently she gets dragged through, and they all follow her kind of being dragged and shit, but then you don't see her anymore, and you just assume she died. But apparently in the unrated cut, there are actually shots of, like, her half-eaten body and, like, her still kind of screaming and flailing around with, like, her half-eaten body. And it looked really fucking cool in the pictures I saw of it. So that was a missed opportunity, and it would have been a practical effect that Baker did that would have actually made the cut. Would have actually been in the movie.
Yeah, that does sound cool.
And you see that, you see, like, her, crumpled up and chewed up body and shit like that, instead of just like, oh, it just kind of cuts and we assume she dies but we don't see anything. And that's one of the main things that bothered me in this film, I think, is that there were so many scenes that could have been cool, but they were obviously trimmed down to be PG-13, where everything happens off screen, and it's just so unaffecting.
And that is, making a PG-13 horror movie is always a bad idea, because you don't get anything you really came to a horror movie for.
Well, and it can happen, and it can work.
I mean, like, The Ring is a good example, but...
Oh, yeah. But that's more, like, just based off kind of creepy character things that give you the willies just by looking at it. More so than, like, a werewolf thing, which is, by nature, a very kind of gory and bloody thing, be it through the transformations and through the attacks. Like, that. Those are the kind of things that are meant to have some blood attached to it, because people are transforming into wolves, and then wolves are attacking and killing people. Like, it's hard to do that without having some gore or some more violent things.
Yeah, and
it just feels watered down.
Yeah, oh, it does. And like I said, I think like half of this movie works, and I think it really would have worked a lot more if he wasn't trying to take it seriously by the end. Like, if it had kept playing up the campy vibe, or what I assume was a campy vibe.
When does it start taking it seriously? I think the finale is the campiest part of the movie. And honestly, the finale is probably the only thing that kind of works for me, and just the first half of it.
Okay.
Just the Judy Greer half of the finale. The Joshua Jackson part of the finale, not so much.
See, I like this movie the first half a lot more, and then I started wearing on me. In the finale, I was like, I've seen you do this so many times, Wes Craven. Like, you have, and like the double and triple twist, and just like, oh my god, stop. We move on to Jesse Eisenberg and Christina Ricci heading home, where we get a shot of Christina Ricci looking like this is another thing that reminded me of like campy 80s. Like, it's really driving the plot forward without explaining anything, where she looks at the picture of her parents and turns off the light. She's like, oh, they have dead parents. She's raising Jesse Eisenberg on her own for whatever reason. But don't
you think the wolf clock is a bit too on the nose though?
Oh, that's ridiculous. Who has a fucking Red Riding Hood cuckoo clock?
Yeah, no, that, like, I was kind of okay with the scene, but then as soon as it got to where, like, it was just doing jump scares of, like, oh, is the door open? Is the door closed? Is there someone in the house? And then all of a sudden, a cuckoo clock goes off, and it's fucking, like, a wolf popping out of the clock, trying to get Little Red Riding Hood. And it's just, come on, Craven. You can do better than that.
Before all that, it's Jesse Eisenberg researching werewolves with comic books and shitty like HTML1 web pages that they look so horrible, and it dates the movie further back than it is actually supposed to be dated.
It really does. Like, it looks way more like a 90s movie than it does a 2000s movie.
And then we get to the part you're talking about where, like, Christina Ricci goes down, she hears something downstairs, then the cuckoo clock with Red Riding Hood, which, who fucking has one of those? Then the doors open, and she starts walking towards it. And once again, it's like, Wes Craven, I know what you're about to do. I've seen you do this so many times. She walks to the door, closes it, turns around, someone's there. Big shock.
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's just...
Yeah, the directing and editing in this film is just atrocious for the most part. Oh, yeah,
and then it's this whole scene of, like... It's
fucking romantic jibba jabber.
Yeah,
it's awful.
What's his name being like,
and like cliche piano music playing during it, trying to make it all romantic.
Well, at the same time, it's supposed to be her dream. Like, that she's dreaming that he's gonna come here and be like, I need someone like you in my life. I want you. And then she's like, oh, and they hug and they're about to make love. But then she ends up biting his neck, and then we get this weird fucking ring sequence out of nowhere.
Yeah, okay, so this is what is completely confusing, because you just said, oh, it's supposed to be her dream. Okay, it's made so unclear, because basically she is talking to her brother, they just had this experience, he goes upstairs, and then she's just like, getting ready to go to bed and stuff. Like, it doesn't really say at any point, even after the scene, that like, oh, I guess she was asleep or something, but it seems like she's very much awake, and then she bites her boyfriend, and then we get these quick flashes of shit that has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. Like, I think I saw a priest at one point in time. Yeah, like there was a fly landing on her eye. Like, it's a bunch of shots that I guess just maybe are from the original cut of the movie, because has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. And then she wakes up in bed the next day, and you think, oh, well, maybe this is stuff she did when she turned into a werewolf. But it's not, so I guess she was asleep. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, who knows? It was made abundantly not clear. And then we find out the next day that she works at Craig Kilborn. Which is another throwback to a time long forgotten.
Oh, the 2000s.
We meet. I want to say Ashley Judd. Her name is Judy Greer, and we meet.
I love Judy Greer.
Yeah, she's just queen bitch of Fuck Mountain in this movie.
Yeah, she is queen bitch of Fuck Mountain. And again, I originally saw her and I was like, oh man, come on, Judy Greer. I know you're in everything, but come on, you're better than this.
I mean, she does pretty well for herself.
She does, and especially like once it gets to the second half of the movie and she has a lot more to do, I'm like, okay, I see why you did this movie now. It actually, you got to do some cool shit.
Okay, so Judy Greer, she's just uber bitch to Christina Ricci, talking about apparently she dated the guy that Christina Ricci is now dating, and she's all upset that he didn't want her, and so she's being a bitch. And then
foreshadowing.
And so Ricci's other love interest, who keeps trying to, he essentially comes in, he says, "Hey, don't worry about that. That woman's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs." And then I can't remember what she said, but he says,
which, by the way, the actor is Michael Rosenbaum, Lex Luthor from Smallville, or maybe better known for his lead role in the film Sorority Boys.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
There's a lot of WB being thrown around in this movie. Apparently,
it was the mid-2000s, man.
I mean, but WB was early 2000s. This movie is once again kind of out of date for itself.
Yeah, it's dated before it even hit theaters.
Yeah, and I love his next line, which is, he's not the only man in town. Then he just does the loving equivalent of staring daggers at Christina Ricci, like, huh?
And she's oblivious.
Yeah, who knew? Anyway. So then we follow Jesse Eisenberg to school, where we get more gay jokes. And I love when he walks up, and he walks up to the girl. She's trying to get something out of a machine, whatever. He has like these 3 huge tomes of books, and she holds them, and she's like, werewolves. Like, does your school library really have that huge and that extensive of a werewolf collection that they just have these 3 like encyclopedias worth of werewolf information? How do you even fill a book that long with information about werewolves?
Talk about werewolf films a lot.
I mean, he's getting his other information from comic books, so it makes sense.
Yeah, honestly, Eisenberg in this movie kind of seems like an updated, a little bit older version of Corey Haim and the Lost Boys.
I could see that, yeah. And her boyfriend comes over, and he makes some more gay jokes, but my favorite one is the one before he leaves, because I have no idea what it means. But he says, "Let's get out of here before we get homo-stained." I don't get it. Like,
I don't know, is that a sexual move? Is that like a Dirty Sanchez, but with homos?
Just, he's gonna, I don't know, wipe his butt on him, and he hasn't properly wiped.
It's gonna get all those homo juices all over him, and those just don't come out. I don't care how many Tide sticks you have; those do not come out in the wash.
And this next part with Ricci to completely to 180 this is she's like, "What smells delicious?" And she starts like hunting around and kind of sniffing in the air. And I had to make this note that Christina Ricci is no Jack Nicholson. This is no Wolf.
No. Although she does have very good werewolf eyes. Or just wolf eyes in general.
She does, yeah. I think that's probably why she got hired, because she does have those good, like, popping on.
Yeah, those eyes are popping fresh.
Once again, topical. Oh, wait, we were actually at the school part.
Oh, yeah,
anyway.
we were. I don't know, it's just gay humor. Whatever.
Yeah, gay humor. Anyway, so then we go to this party, which the only really good notable thing about this party is that Scott Baio is there.
And at first I was just like, what the fuck, movie? But then I was like, you know what, I can't even be mad at Baio. This is probably the best thing he's done in decades.
It wasn't, he didn't have much to do, but it was alright.
I will say, the one thing that really pissed me off about this movie is that it got very generic towards the end with the reveal and everything. One, I kind of didn't figure out until like maybe 5-10 minutes before it happened, but they really missed an opportunity to either make Scott Baio or Craig Kilborn the main werewolf, which would have been hilarious and would have made me love this movie.
Oh man, after I saw Scott Baio at the ending scene, I was like, wait, is it possible that Scott Baio, I've just forgotten that Scott Baio is actually the main werewolf, but
I would have fucking completely changed my opinion on this movie.
Oh, it would have been amazing.
And I think Craig Kilborn as the werewolf would have also, because they kept being like, oh, I lost Craig. And I was like, oh, please let Craig Kilborn be the werewolf.
No, he couldn't be bothered to show up at that scene, I think.
Kilborn doesn't come cheap, guys.
he's some hot property.
Hot property.
When Christina Ricci is talking to Scott Baio about his appearance on the Craig Kilborn show, he's like, "You'll be after Ashton Kutcher and Carrot Top." Once again, this movie is dating itself further back than it should. Like, Carrot Top would not be second billed in 2005, let alone 2000, like 1995 at the latest, I think, is where
I think
Carrot
maybe
Top
there
could
were
get
some
second
rumblings.
bill.
There were some rumblings in the Hollywood machine that he might be doing a sequel to Chairman of the Board. So I think they were like, no, this Carrot Top's about to be hot property again.
His stock went flying. Like, oh shit, Chairman 2. And this is also where we find out, because it's where the dude, Christina Ricci's boyfriend, because I was like, I've never been able to stay with a girl, but I think I can now. I want to be with you. I've had a sordid past. But Maya's actually at the party, because who knows why. She doesn't know her friend's dead yet, apparently, even though it was last night.
Well, she wandered off. Maya has a short attention span.
Yeah.
She got distracted by a pretty blinking light.
Yes. And then we find out that, because the dude has the line, no, I did it. This is before I met you. Even though they just said that he met Christina Ricci they've been dating a couple of months. So Shannon Elizabeth, by yesterday, had been pining for this dude she apparently had a couple of dates and a sort of one-night stand with for 2 months afterwards.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous, right?
Well, I don't know. Shannon Elizabeth's a bit clingy.
knowing her personal history.
I only dated her 3 times, and she still won't stop calling me. in my dreams, anyway.
In my dreams, I sneak out of her window in the night. Good night, my sweet princess. Anyway, so this is also, we go back to, or there's this whole car lot scene, which is all right. It has a couple of practical effects.
No, see, this is the thing. I'm pretty sure almost all of the effects in the car lot scene are CGI.
Were they?
I'm pretty sure, because even like when you see like his hooves, I don't know what the fuck they're called, his feet, his paws underneath the car, like those look completely CGI. And the following scene to this, in the elevator scene, there actually are some shots of like a practical werewolf thing when like he's reaching into the elevator, which is okay. But I just kept saying, like, from this scene, which I'm pretty sure almost all of it was CGI, or at least CGI enhanced, to then go into the elevator scene where there are a little bit of practical effects, but it's all extremely quick cuts. I'm like, why the fuck do you have Rick Baker? Like, who cares about Rick Baker effects if you can't fucking see them?
See, I'm wondering, because the couple times they show the werewolf face, it looks like just a little bit CGI enhanced. It looks like a good bit of practical effect is actually going into that.
In the elevator scene, when you actually see him and he's popping in the elevator, that looks completely practical, and I didn't notice any CGI in that. But the one actual, like, lingering close-up we get of the wolf's face before that in the car lot looks completely CGI to me.
No, it's absolutely not. If you look at the hair is totally real. I mean, I think it's CGI.
Well, then the actual face, the eyes and the mouth, like that looks completely CGI.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of hard to get those kind of facial. I mean, I thought it was just enhanced.
Look at the good werewolf movies and tell me it's that hard to do. Fucking Silver Bullet had better werewolf effects in this movie.
I would take umption with that, but I mean, like I said, there's a couple of scenes that do well, and then there's a lot, like, whenever it goes completely CGI, it's bad. I thought it actually looked good with the mixture of practical and CGI. That didn't look nearly as bad. Once I got to the elevator scene,
CGI. I thought it was okay. I actually kind of enjoyed the elevator scene, but the car lot scene, it just lingered on for so long and nothing really happened. And I didn't like the CGI effects in that. I felt like maybe they did put some over the practical effects, but I feel like it probably took away from it.
It took away. I mean, I thought it looked alright.
Mostly just because this is still like earlier CGI, to where it's not that good yet, guys. Especially when they get to the finale and it's pretty much all CGI. Like not at all does it look good.
That's all. Yeah, that's definitely horrible. I'm saying the kind of mixture worked all right. It worked better than you would kind of expect for this, like you said, early CGI.
Yeah.
Like before they really ironed out all the problems. It looked
well, then again, it's not
CGI.
though. I keep wanting to say that, but it's really not, because the fucking Lord of the Rings movies had come out at this point.
Well, it's early for Curse Time, which is apparently stuck in 1997.
Okay,
so.
Yeah. No, because it does. It looks like late 90s CGI graphics, so I don't know if they didn't have the budget for it. Because, again, if you don't have the fucking budget for CGI effects, you fucking hired Rick Baker. Make him do some shit. Make him do some work. I bet you it's going to look a hell of a lot better than what you came up with doing cheap, shoddy CGI effects.
See, that's why I don't think they actually had Rick Baker. They just had old Rick Baker props that he just kind of passed.
Maybe,
on
but he's
to them.
credited not only as special effects and as makeup department.
Huh. So I don't know. It's strange, but yeah, like they really should have gone full practical. Especially, they should have made this,
or they could have done
it
small enhancements. Like they could have done some enhancements for more, maybe some more life in the face and stuff like that, a bit. But it seems like it was a crutch, and they basically used practical effects in the amount that they should have used CGI.
I'd say this movie would have been better if they made what I actually wanted it to be and what I thought it was for a minute, which was the throwback to old werewolf movies. Like, then the shitty script makes a lot more sense. If they had just gotten full practical effect, would have been a lot more enjoyable and really would have felt like one of these old 80s werewolf horror movies. Like, if they had more blood, if they had made it R, if they had gone full practical, I would have enjoyed this movie. I think it could have been done very well. The big problems with the script and everything wouldn't have bothered me nearly as much.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. It could have, I mean, it might not have been great, but it could have been good and entertaining. I think maybe, like you said, they had that start of maybe being a love letter to werewolf films, but then they tried to bring in like the whole, we're going to do another Scream and get the teen crowd and do the hip, we're going to bring in Bowling for Soup and the kids are going to love it.
The kids are going to go crazy for Bowling for Soup. Yeah, I heard this band the other day on the MTVs.
Hey, I know what the kids like these days. They like the Bowling for Soups and they like the Craig Kilborns.
that's the hot ticket.
You know who's really making a comeback? You know who's really hot property? That Scott Baio kid. He's got talent.
I hear Charles for Charge is getting. I fucked it up. Anyway,
no, Charles for Charge is much better.
Charles for Charge, best sitcom.
Hey, you can get the Charles, but it costs money. Okay.
Come on, you gotta pay for the Charles. Okay. Then we go back to the siblings' homes. We find out about 5 points on your hand. I love that after Jesse Eisenberg reads about the mark of the beast, which is 5 points, he looks at his hand. They are obviously in a circle in the exact 5 points. He still has to draw it out with a Sharpie just to be sure.
That made me laugh so hard. I was like, he even looked at a picture of the book that showed the 5 points, which he sees on his hand, and then it even shows a picture next to it of it traced into a pentagram, yet he still is like, wait a second. Oh my god, these are the same 5 points. That's just for all the fucking dum-dums in the audience that don't have big enough attention spans to get it.
Yeah. And then Christina Ricci is like, well, if we're werewolves, then this thing is sterling silver. If I pick it up, it should hurt me, right? It's the picture of them and their parents. And he's like, according to chapter 4, right? Like, this is so ridiculous. There's just an entire chapter on silver hurting werewolves in his werewolf encyclopedia.
Which I have to imagine only has like 8 chapters most.
Seriously, and they're apparently pretty fucking long. This movie, it's preposterous. This movie is preposterous. There was a kind of a funny scene with dogs all barking at their house, and Jesse Eisenberg has to howl at them.
It was such a silly howl too.
It was. He is not a very convincing dog.
Oh yeah, but the whole sterling silver picture frame thing, it comes back into play later, but it's a missed opportunity for a joke, because he even like turns it over and it just says sterling silver on the back and he's like, oh, cheap piece of shit. It would have been funny.
No, it says stainless steel.
Oh, stainless steel. Okay, I thought it said sterling silver, but when he turns it around, I thought it would have been funnier if it said like made in China or like made in Taiwan or something. He's like, the Chinese.
Those Chinese. Would have been funny. And then let's just go to Eisenberg. After he starts turning into a werewolf, I love that once he turns into a werewolf, he gets an Ethan Hawke wig.
Pretty much, no, he goes emo boy haircut. He basically he's Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 3 all of a sudden.
Except he really does a convincing, like, young Ethan Hawke. Like, he looks like Ethan Hawke now if he was young.
I'm following you.
Like, that's like, because he kind of has the same line. I don't know. He has the same face structure as Ethan Hawke now. Like, before he was I don't know. It's awesome. It's just like
so
Jesse
when Ethan
Eisenberg is
Hawke became
Hawke.
Skeleton Boy, well, like when he got really skinny, but if he was
Yeah.
still like in his early 20s when that happened.
Yes, that is what Jesse Eisenberg looks like with his Ethan Hawke wig, which is the most amazing wig. I could not stop cracking up every time I saw it.
Well, I love the fact that to discover his powers, he joins a wrestling match.
Which is like, this movie goes full Teen Wolf for an entire scene where the guy, the mean boyfriend, makes it like, it's just like, yeah, Jesse Eisenberg wants to join the wrestling team. The coach is like, is that true, son? And then, like, without Jesse saying anything, he's like, well, suit up. And then they wrestle, and he's not even that good for half the time. And it's like he just kind of halfway discovers his powers as it's going through. And he's doing full-on wrestling moves, and the coach is not stopping this. Like,
I think he does like a suplex on somebody, like he fucking like tombstones a motherfucker.
Yeah,
but other than that, like that's the only time he actually showed a feat of strength. Every other time, it just seemed like he used other people's weight against them, like their momentum.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like it's a very like, but it's not even like a Spider-Man scene. It's kind of played like a Spider-Man scene, but he has to discuss, like, he just randomly discovers these traits within himself.
Yeah, well, I think he kind of realizes or thinks he's a werewolf at this point, so I think he expects the powers to happen, but they don't quite happen at first.
I guess it does not play that way, but yeah, I could definitely see that that's where it's trying to go. But anyway, it's a stupid scene.
Well, let's jump to the next scene at night, which contains two of my favorite parts of the film. Like, not because they're good, but just because... the main problem with this movie is that it wasn't even, like, kind of good or even laughably bad for the most part. It was just...
Yeah.
But this scene at night where we find the boyfriend Milo again and the dog... That is actually laughably bad to where I kind of started to enjoy the movie.
Yeah, I feel like this movie sinks into these very hilarious scenes every so often to where it's laughably bad, but they are kind of few and far between.
Yeah, and they don't really start until the second half of the movie for the most part.
I disagree. I thought the first half was a lot more fun in how stupid it was, but I think, once again, it's just because I've seen it before and I had such low expectations. I knew, like, I didn't remember much, but I definitely remembered. No, I didn't really remember anything except for I'll point out the final scene that I actually remembered. That I don't know why that one stuck out, but anyway.
Is it Judy Greer's butt?
It was not Judy Greer's butt. It's actually the werewolf flipping off. And I was like, oh yeah, that is how this fucking thing is.
Which, again, okay, I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but how the fuck can you make a scene of a werewolf flipping someone off not funny?
It's not funny, but at least they did it practically.
Yeah, no, they did do it practically, and it should have been funny. Like, that's the thing. It's such an easy scene to make funny. You have a dude in a werewolf costume fucking flipping people off. Like,
yeah.
That's so easy to make funny, and it falls flat.
See, if they if they had played it more like an 80s horror movie, I think it would have landed. They just took itself... They got too much, like you said, into the Scream thing. Like, we need to build a base audience with this.
Yeah, and we need to do the whole switcheroo, who's the bad guy thing.
Oh my god, it gets so labored.
Okay, well, let's talk about the good scene that I kind of mentioned.
Yeah.
So later that night, the love interest boyfriend comes to Eisenberg's house, and he basically confesses to him that he actually is gay. Like, he had been calling him out on it at school and been like, oh, all this homophobic stuff's really giving you away, man. And he comes to the house and he's just like, how'd you know? Well, I guess it takes one to know one. Of course you knew. And I really thought it was a setup for him to, like, make him admit he's gay or, like, get him caught in a gay act. And then, like, his friends were going to come out and beat the shit out of Eisenberg. Yeah. But no, he's just actually gay and he just admits it.
I think that's how it's the way that Wes Craven is forgiving all the gay jokes before, even though they still have more gay jokes now with this actually gay boy's expense.
Yeah, probably even more. So
yeah, it's very strange. The funniest thing I think is after it's around the lines like, I'm not gay, I'm cursed, where he starts talking about the werewolf stuff. They start playing like Ennio Morricone, like Man with No Name type music in the background, and I don't know where that's coming from. It's like this, like, like
I totally didn't pick up on that.
Like spaghetti western music. Oh my god, spaghetti western music starts playing. It is the most inane thing I like. we've heard some pretty bad music cues. This was the most off-kilter I think we've done yet.
But again, I think it added to make it a pretty funny scene in a movie filled with blandness.
Yeah, a lot of blandness going on.
But then the second part to that scene is the fact that we find out that Eisenberg's dog, Zipper, is a were-dog.
Wait, I have to correct you, because the term werewolf comes from the Germanic word were, which means human, so it means human wolf. So it would be dog wolf, probably.
Dog wolf. Well, that just doesn't sound as good.
I know. just wanted to point that out. That's a little bit of dropping some werewolf knowledge on you.
Wolf dog.
Wolf dog.
Wolf the dog hunter. I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah, topical.
Huh?
But no, actually, even though at first when we found out that it was a wolf dog, I was just kind of like, but then like it actually turned out to be kind of a fun scene, and even though it was a CGI effect of making the dog a werewolf, it was kind of enjoyable, I have to admit, and just the fucked up face of the dog was actually kind of cool. Probably the one good effect in the movie that was CGI.
Yeah, not bad. Like, CGI isn't all bad. It's just, if you're expected to take it seriously, especially when you're doing, like, 1998 type graphics, it doesn't play. But when you're doing something that's kind of fun and silly that you don't have to buy into in any way, it works.
Yeah, it can, as long as you do it genuinely, and you don't just kind of, like, skimp on it. Yeah.
And so, yeah, the dog animation totally worked. Him and the now gay boyfriend to get in a car and drive away.
Which, by the way, with him, okay, I found out when I looked at IMDb that his character's name is Bo, like B-O. I honestly thought that everyone was just calling him Bro throughout the entire movie.
See, that would have been prescient, uncursed part, and I don't think this movie can be prescient.
No, I just kept, it just sounded like Bro every time, and then I saw on IMDb, it's like, oh, his name was Bo.
Yeah, and oh man, there's this part when they're driving away. He's like, "Let's go to Tinsley." He's like, "Oh, on the Strip." He's like, "Yeah, my sister's gonna be there," and he's just like, "Ah, the Strip, gotcha." And Jesse Eisenberg's like, "Oh, all right, calm down." Like, that's such a stupid gay.
It really is.
So
all of a sudden like, oh, he's gay, and now like I can still make gay jokes, but it's okay because it's an actual gay person.
Yeah, well, that's one thing, is that he excuses the using fag before, but now he's just going to make actual gay jokes, or jokes.
Yeah, he's not using the word fag anymore. Yeah, he's just making fun of the fact that he is gay.
Yeah, like, this movie's sensibilities are extremely dated. Once
really
again,
this is... funny enough, the very next scene, when we get to the opening at Tinsel, who's there? Lance Bass is there.
Oh man, it's before he came out, I think.
It is, which is so fucking funny.
Oh, it's so crazy because you see him like trying to like putting his arm around a girl and like, oh man. Such a dated movie in so many ways.
I know, but especially just the sequence of events there, like, oh man. Ironic.
I don't think Lance Bass is actually inside at all. I think they were just like, that's the biggest star they could get to show up on their fake red carpet.
Oh yeah, it was just a red carpet scene. I don't remember seeing him at all. Like once they go inside,
no,
they just wanted to make a joke that Jesse Eisenberg and fucking Bo just tag along with his entourage to get in.
Yeah, and this is where it's revealed that Ellie's boyfriend is a werewolf, and you're like, oh, that was kind of telegraphed. Yeah, but that's still because it's like, well, Wes Craven obviously has to do his twist, but this twist came so early, like, oh wait, knowing Wes Craven, there must be another twist.
And get ready for 5 in a row.
Exactly. And so yeah, so they all get into the club. There's a bunch of shit that happens. They go in this hall of mirrors in this club inexplicably, and
also made a hall of mirrors scene boring.
Yeah, and this werewolf attacks Ricci and Eisenberg, but the boyfriend's like, no, you don't understand. I was born with this. I've lived with it all my life. I can control it. And they're like. And he's like, but I don't know who the one that's been attacking you is.
So by being born with it, does that mean that a werewolf fucked his mom?
That's
or is he a product of 2 werewolves fucking?
I don't get how that works, and it's not explored. But
And
I would have.
here's the main difference I noticed. Okay, so they all have the 5 dots on their hand. With his hand, if you look at it, it's actually kind of like an ingrained pentagram, kind of like his veins or a pentagram or something.
Oh yeah.
But when we find out the next twist of who the other werewolf is, also, even though not born with it and got it from Joshua Jackson, also has the pentagram hand.
What I think may be happening is that they are already fully formed werewolves, whereas Ricci and Eisenberg have not fully formed.
And maybe it becomes a pentagram once you fully form?
Like in the full moon, or like when you're changing.
Oh, okay. Well, that kind of makes sense then.
But there's a lot of inconsistency with that anyway. So yeah, there's this whole boring Hall of Mirrors scene where this other werewolf attacks. Like, oh, I guess the boyfriend wasn't the bad guy. They screamed me. The guy with the red herring. They screamed me. And so there's this whole fight, and this movie misses the best opportunity for a ridiculous, like, horror movie themed bloodbath werewolf scene. That's just like going through all these old horror movie like set pieces and just a werewolf tearing people to shreds and just leaving like buckets of blood on the floor.
There could have been so many jokes.
Oh, it could have been so fucking good.
But no, they don't use it at all.
No, like this whole movie could have lost its entire last act and just focused on that club scene, and it would have been fucking amazing.
Because you already had amazing sets built that just kind of lend themselves to the story that you could, if you're trying to make a meta Scream-esque movie, like this is where you do it. You do it in a room full of like old school Hollywood monster movie shit, and then just have the werewolf like, you know, maybe hiding in those sets or just like making funny comments about being a werewolf in these sets.
Yeah, I mean this is the dude that fucking made. Yeah, this guy made the fucking Freddy movies. And it's not funny. It's the weirdest thing. Such wasted opportunity.
It really is.
I think you're dead on that they tried to turn this into a Scream franchise, and if they there may have been an original conception that's more like what we're talking about, but they decided to make a cash in instead.
Yeah, I think so, because this is right after Scream 3. So I think he was pretty much done with that until he eventually had to go back and do Scream 4 recently. So I think he was like, okay, I'm going to move to something else. Apparently these kind of comedic meta horror movies are popular now because of me, so I'm going to jump into another genre or another subgenre of that. And he tried to go werewolves, and it just failed miserably.
Yeah, when he had the best opportunity to make such a cool, like, old school horror movie. It's just like pretty much like a big budget indie horror movie is what he could have made. And it kind of looks like it, like you can see the veneer of that movie in the background, but it never surfaces.
Oh yeah, and there's so many places where it comes to the cusp of that. Like it would have been so easy for it to just jump over the edge and just do exactly what it was sort of aiming towards, but it just doesn't, and it just fucking cuts back and it just does the most generic cliche shit it can. Yeah.
And so getting back to it, all the people run out of the club instead of anyone getting killed. Like, no one. Not one person gets killed. Everyone runs out of the club. They end up locking the doors, so it's just, like, Ricci Eisenberg, the gay boyfriend, and unknown werewolf at this time, and Ricci's boyfriend.
Yeah.
And then we find out it was Judy Greer the whole time.
Well, they even do one more kind of psych out to where the next person you see is that dude Kyle from her office. And they're just like, oh, I guess he's the werewolf because he won't show them his hand. And he's like, hey, we got to get out of here. There's a killer on the loose. And then, of course, he gets, eaten or gets killed by the werewolf, which is another scene to where, like, there was a lot more blood and gore to that, but it was cut down for the PG-13. So it's another psych out. Sense. And then, we find out Judy Greer is... And here's the thing. Judy Greer actually made this scene kind of fun. Just her over-the-top, hammy performance was fun. Yeah. The main thing that killed it was the transfer from CGI to practical. Because the CGI werewolf, when she transforms and when she runs around a bit, it's all CGI, and it looks so bad. And then a little bit later, they cut to a completely practical, like, man in wolf costume, pretty much, to do, like, some comic bits. But it's such a weird transition and looks nothing like the CGI one they presented, to where it's just, it's confusing.
It is. It's really, like, I mean, there's really not much to this Judy Greer scene. Yeah, she acts really well, but she gives this whole speech about how she's she's eliminating the competition so that what's his name can be all to herself because she's just a jilted lover apparently. And she has this one joke that he's just like, no, you can't kill her. He's like, I'm not gonna kill her, I'm just gonna rip her to shreds and let her choke on her own blood, then maybe I'll eat her.
Yeah. Well, I said shit like that actually kind of made me laugh. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, there was one scene where you could see a Kevin Sorbo doll as Hercules in the background. I also did love that.
Oh, I didn't notice that. That's awesome.
Maybe that's where that sword came from. I don't remember. But there's a Kevin Sorbo doll.
Oh, see, I thought it was a Conan sword, but I thought it was like a Schwarzenegger Conan sword. I didn't know it was a Sorbo Conan. No, he didn't even do Conan. He was Hercules.
It may be.
Yeah, Sorbo was Hercules. And I don't even think he carried a sword.
Yeah, no, none of that makes sense. Anyway, but there's a Kevin Sorbo. That's all I'm saying.
I think you're just seeing Kevin Sorbos where there are none to be seen. I think your obsession with Kevin Sorbo has just reached creepy levels right now.
I've got to finish Hercules. I'm about halfway through. Anyway, so they make the one Wolfman joke in the whole movie that is they hide on the Wolfman set, hiding from the werewolf.
Yeah, that's the joke. Ha! That was a good ha in unison.
That was. So then Judy Greer runs away. The cops come in. And Christina Ricci, to get her out of hiding, it's just like she has a bony ass and her skin's bad. Yeah. And so Judy Greer, as the werewolf, pops out, flips her off, and the cops all shoot her.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Can't you tell by our excitement? And then, of course, they have to fucking scream to it, and she comes back one more time to be shot in the head. And then, like, is she dead? Like, well, her brains are on the floor. Anyway.
Which, by the way, if she is dead and her brains are on the floor, why does she immediately after that turn back into human form? Because, again, just got shot in the head. And not only that, but A, that probably would have killed her. And B, it's more like, oh, her werewolfness went away? Isn't that only supposed to happen if you kill the head werewolf? But I guess they were kind of trying to do a double thing where they're like, oh, she was the head werewolf and blah, blah, blah.
I mean, I don't know. So anyway, yeah, Eisenberg and Ricci go home. They assume their curse is gone. And then another double turn and scare.
They completely scream it because they do the exact same thing they did with Skeet Ulrich in Scream, which is like, oh, you think he's the bad guy. Oh, no, but then he kind of gets killed and he's not the bad guy that you thought he was. Oh, but then it turns out he actually was the bad guy. Exact same fucking thing they do with Joshua Jackson in this. And the fact that his character was originally supposed to be Skeet Ulrich, like if that's how it was written to where it was going to do that, I was like, God, just fucking make Scream again, why don't you?
Oh man, that would have been hilarious. Although there was one part I appreciate because it does the same thing it did earlier in the movie where the doors open and Christina Ricci kind of sneaks up to it like, oh, and she closes it. She does a turnaround. There's no one there. Then she does another turnaround and then he's there. So it was a double turn and scare.
Wes Craven, the puppet master.
And then it's also revealed that the boyfriend was actually the bad guy all along, like you thought from the beginning. I like to call it the old Wes Craven double back herring.
Well, that's the thing, is that they even play it like everyone in the movie is just so surprised about it. I was like, really? Why are you trying to play it like that? Was there ever any confusion that he was Big Daddy Werewolf?
I mean, like, I guess when you find out Judy Greer, like, well, maybe he's not Big Daddy Werewolf, but of course he fucking is.
Yeah, because he's the one that changed her.
Yeah.
There's even that awful line where she's like, I guess there's no safe sex with a werewolf. Ugh.
Yeah, well, I guess it's if you break the line, if you break it from the person that you inherited it from, is the idea.
Okay, I thought you had to break it from the originator of it. Like, even if it's someone that changed you that wasn't the main guy?
That's vampires.
Well, no, but that's how they explain it in the movie. They're like, oh, you have to kill the source of it. Like, yeah, you could kill the person that bit you, but I think you had to kill the person that bit them as well.
I think they meant... I mean, who fucking cares? But I think they meant source more as in, like, the person you got it for. Like, you just have to break... Because they say something about a bloodline, so you just have to break the bloodline somewhere. So even, like, the person who gave that person the werewolf, I would assume, would take it away from you.
I guess that would make sense, though, if they thought Judy Greer was the one that originally bit them, and then they killed her, so they thought it was over.
Well, which also is what they implied when Judy Greer was killing everyone, because she's like, I'm having too much fun eliminating the competition. So she was eliminating Shannon Elizabeth as the competition is what it's implying. But was that him? Did he do that?
I don't think so. I think with the women, with Shannon Elizabeth and Maya, I think it was Judy Greer because she was trying to eliminate the competition. But I would assume that it was Joshua Jackson that originally bit them? Because if so, because if they did kill Judy Greer and she's the one that changed them, wouldn't that cut the bloodline to where they would have changed back instead of them having to kill Joshua Jackson before they changed back?
That's what I'm saying. So it must have been him, because otherwise it would have... Judy Greer would have been the reason they changed.
Exactly. So when they killed her, that would have ended it for them. So it must have been Joshua Jackson. So he's the one that killed Shannon Elizabeth. So I guess Judy Greer only killed Maya?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
So what's all this competition she's getting rid of?
That one girl, and then now Christina Ricci, I guess, was the idea. Oh, that's fucking stupid. Anyway, so there's this whole stupid scene where they had to go turn on the power circuits. The boyfriend goes crazy, like, oh, now I guess I have to kill you since you won't be in love with me, and we can't be werewolves together forever. And then it's horrible. Anyway, she sticks a silver thing into him, and then that doesn't end up working, and they end up cutting his head off, which once again they don't show because it's fucking PG-13.
Yeah, again, that's another one that's different in the unrated. And this one, you just kind of see off screen of like her like shooting or like pushing the shovel towards his head, and you realize, oh, his head got cut off. And then there's a brief scene where it pans up or it shows it from the ceiling, and you can see his severed head, but just not very close up. But apparently in the unrated version, there actually is a couple of shots of them like going after his neck, and then you actually do get to see a close up of his head, and it looked like he probably had a line or something.
Man, that would have been so awesome.
Yeah,
it's so much wasted.
Again, there's so many moments. Yeah, so much, not just because of the effects, but just like it's so easy. Like watching this movie, I was like, off the top of my head, I could come up with a million ways to make this movie better.
For one, use the sets you've already built that are awesome.
Yeah.
Like the horror museum you have, illogically as a dance club, but that's an awesome set.
Exactly. They still spent the money to build that set and to put all those things there. Why not get some fucking use out of it instead of just like a couple of like more pans across the room to just show these things and be like, haha, isn't that funny that this thing is here?
Yeah, so fucking annoying. And then this movie ends in another annoying way. Which, if it had been played campy, this would have been funny, because the girlfriend the girl that Jesse Eisenberg has a crush on ends up coming to his house illogically, and she's like, "I found your dog." So he gets his dog and this girl at the same time, and the gay boyfriend comes up and he's just like, "I told her everything." And then they all go off hand in hand while Christina Ricci laughs like, "I'm gonna stay here and clean up the fucking eviscerated body in my kitchen. Haha."
That's exactly what she's like. Well, that's the thing. And also the whole thing, her name was Brooke, apparently, in the movie. But yeah, when she comes to his house and then they just kiss all of a sudden, and the gay boyfriend is just like, ugh, girls. Like, it's so fucking unearned. Like, other than the fact that they've talked like 2 or 3 times and been somewhat friendly with each other, and that she saw him wrestle those people and was apparently all hot and bothered by that, there's no fucking reason for them to like kiss all of a sudden or to even like each other. They've barely spoken to each other.
It's so ridiculous. It's like they just wrote themselves into a corner, like, shit, we don't have anyone to give any payoff anymore. Where's that fucking girlfriend we wrote in? Yeah,
bring her back. Reshoot. It would have been so funny, though, I think, is if, like, she said that to him, where she was like, oh, well, we can be together now because my gay boyfriend is gay. It would have been so funny if Eisenberg is like, you know what, after all this I've been through and after what we just went through, I think I'm gay now. I'm going to go off and be with a bro here.
I'm gonna have to be honest with myself after all. Turns out this is all just a big gay rights movie in disguise of a completely homophobic movie.
I would have loved this movie so much more if it was. At least it would have had something to say. Well, that was Wes Craven's Cursed, the embarrassing, illegitimate love child of The Howling and Scream. Join us next week when we dive back into the ocean for 1998's Deep Rising, a film with enough B-movie cliches to make Lloyd Kaufman scoff, enough jet ski chases to put Hard Rain to shame, and enough tentacled sea monsters to make H.P. Lovecraft blush. We'll see you next time, here at Crushed Celluloid.